Six Nations 2023, folks. Round number 2 is in the bag. Let's go ahead and pick 5 players who are our top 5 players of the round. As always, you guys can let us know your thoughts on who you would be having if you were going to pick a top 5. It doesn't always have to be the guys who were man of the match. You could pick 5 guys from the Irish squad if you wanted. They were pretty good. But yeah, we'll go through them and you guys can let us know your thoughts. If you want to read about it, I've also written up a piece with the same stuff for Planet Rugby. I'll put a link down in the description. Inevitably, there will be a few things that I've written up in the piece, which I forget to mention here. So if you want the details, go check that out. Planet Rugby. First player I've got from the top 5 is a guy who I don't think I had on my list last week, and this is in no particular order, but Hugo Keenan, the fullback from Ireland. He didn't get man of the match. I guess there was a number of guys who could have got it in that game, to be honest, but Hugo Keenan, goodness gracious me, he was amazing. Like, the fact that he's going to catch high balls and just generally get his positioning right and be a very safe pair of hands, it pretty much goes without saying at this point. You're kind of used to it, but you still need to say it. You can't get used to it. Sometimes with players who are at the top of their game, when you get that used to it, you start taking it for granted. You know what I mean? Then you see someone else come in for them, and you're like, ooh, yeah, not quite the same. So Hugo Keenan is still really good in that regard, but the offensive numbers he put up this week were just insane. Like, obviously, he scored a phenomenal, well-worked team move, which they'd obviously planned to counter France's 22 dropout when Beelan put Keenan through that gap. I mean, oh my. Like, he backed himself. There were still a couple of French defenders. He had potential guys who he could have looked to pass to, but no, he backed himself to get the try, and he got it done pretty easily. And then his kicking game, it just puts other teams under pressure. Kicks a really sweet 50-22. He almost puts Mac Hansen through for a try, but for that Antoine Dupont kind of wonder tackle. I think he clocked up like 181 meters or something stupid. So, yeah, Hugo Keenan. Very good. Very good at the weekend. And I am going to put one of his teammates on, who, if I'm not mistaken, I did also pick last week in Kailin Doris. Kailin Doris, in his current form, is looking, I don't want to say absolutely unplayable, but pretty bloody hard to play. Like, he was up against a pretty good French back row, right? Like, a lot of the talk last year was, from this part of the world, why didn't Adi Xavier get nominated for World Player of the Year? And other people would say, well, Aldrit had just as good a year as Xavier did, because they're both, phenomenal blockbusting, ball-carrying number 8s. But Doris seems to be the man for the moment, man. He was up against Aldrit, but it was all the Kailin Doris show. 18 carries this week is the most of any player of all the 3 games that I have seen. They may not have updated the stats for the most recent game, England against Italy, yet, but no one's going to get close in that game. So, yeah, Doris, most carries of the week. 88 run meters for a back rower is a stupid number. It's really high. He's very hard to bring down. He set up that sweet bonus point try to Ringrose with a pass while he's kind of being tackled. Like, the guy's skill set defensively last week especially, he was only called upon to make a handful of tackles this week, but defensively, ball carrying, and ball handling. Like, the guy just does everything, man. He's a unit. So, Kailin Doris. So there's a couple of Irish guys to start things off. I can't not pick this guy as well, Finn Russell. I think last week's performance was received in a mixed manner of ways. I quite liked the way he played last week and used some width. I think he's going to get more universal praise this week with the confidence that he had. Obviously, his goal kicking was not what it could have been. He did miss a few kicks from the tee. I will put that out there. But goodness gracious me. I mean, the first half was tight. Second half, he puts in 3 try assists, and all of them could probably be candidates for like a try of the game, right? The out-of-the-back offload to Kyle Steyn. There's still images of that one which just look like he's breaking some kind of laws of physics. The cross kick also to Kyle Steyn was pinpoint accurate, like we just watched. If you've seen the England against Italy game, there were some kicks in that game which were not Finn Russell level, at least from this week anyway. After watching that game, against Wales, it was kind of hard to watch some of the kicks in that more recent game. Just going, the execution just wasn't there. His kicking from hand, he chewed through the kick meters. He got through some run meters of his own as well. He made all but one of his tackles. Like Finn Russell, just playing with confidence. Is a really, really hard guy to shut down. So Gregor Townsend said in the post-match thing that he's hoping basically that he stays fit because he's going to have to go back to his French club to play this coming week. But yeah, fingers crossed he stays fit, because when he's on fire, he's a really, really hard guy to contain. A Frenchman in a losing side, I went with Damian Pino, and he scored a pretty nice try as well. Speaking of nice tries, Damian Pino's one. I mean, Ringrose's one, Keenan's one, the ones that Russell set up. There were some bloody good tries this week, but Pino's one. He sets it up and he finishes it. I mean, it's kind of scrappy ball that comes to him. Like Ramos is basically just slaps the pass to him. He's in his own 22 as Damian Pino, backs himself, finds himself in some space, finds Gelange to give him that support run, and then goes ahead to support Gelange to get the pass to finish the try. Like, it's end-to-end stuff, coast to coast. It's the only try the French scored in that game, and it was a bit of a worldie. So, yeah. I mean, apart from that moment alone, he finishes like this week's top winger for like run meters and defenders beaten. He was just, offensively really, really on his game. And there were some good performances from wingers this week. And like he almost stopped James Lowe from getting that try. If the TMO had seen that other angle of his foot and touch, maybe Damian Pino would have been awarded a try-saving tackle moment. But also, some people would argue he didn't use hands in the tackle anyway, so maybe he's lucky he didn't go a penalty try. Either way, man, Damian Pino is very much a handful, ball in hand. And my last guy, it's another Scotsman, and it is Matt, the loose forward, rather than Xander, the prop. Matt Ferguson. I was tempted to bring him into the conversation last week because he was genuinely really good last week as well. This guy's the top tackler in the Six Nations after 2 rounds. So he's been defensively just an absolute workhorse, which is not going to get the same headlines as like the stuff that Finn Russell's been doing, right? Or even what Kailin Doris has been doing with stupid 80 number of run meters. But Matt Ferguson, that kind of stuff is just as important. Some would say even more important. So top tackler in the Six Nations, top tackler in this game. I think he makes 19 out of 21, which is down from like the 26 he made last week, but still a great defensive shift. As a top tackler in the game. He scores a try. He finishes that third of the Finn Russell try assists. He beats like 3 defenders. I think he's the top Scottish loose forward for carries, and I think maybe the top Scottish forward for carries. Maybe the top guy in that game for carries. Run meters, like the guy was just Mr. Everywhere, which is also really pleasing. So like I said, I reckon he's going to get overshadowed by the likes of a Kailin Doris based on that performance, but don't sleep on Matt Ferguson. He's had 2 really, really good rounds to start the Six Nations. So there you go, folks. Those are my top 5 from the week. Sadly, none from the most recent game, which was England and Italy. And I couldn't get any Welshmen on the board, but that's why we only picked 5 to keep it kind of ultra competitive. But yeah, who would you guys pick if you were picking a top 5 from the round? Don't have to go with the man of the match, guys. I did go with the 2 of them, admittedly. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. Check out the article, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.